Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a trying new makeup. I have a bunch of products from Morphe and then some odds and ends. So I just want to play around with some new products and chat with you guys. So I will link everything down below and let's go ahead and get into it. So I've got you zoomed in and I want to start off with this new lip stain marker from e.l.f. I saw this pop up on, I want to say Ulta. So I got Ballet Core and this is what it swatches like. Very, very light. It's like a really light baby pink. The tip is similar to, I would say, the Huda Beauty, but just more thin. Now the thing that I noticed, because I did try this yesterday, is that this has a scent very much like the Sephora collection, but this is intense. Actually like lingered and really was bothersome to me, but I'm going to just demo it for you. I like a really light pink like this for the summertime when I have like no makeup on. So it just brings me to life. Now I've only used this one time and I feel like it already feels a little bit dry. I'm gonna let it sit for a second and see if I can get the pigment to come down. Let's just pivot while we let that sit to this Letta Marina Soleil 12 fragrance. So this is owned by Stephanie Letta and this is her newest fragrance. It's supposed to be a summer, you're, on a yacht, you're in Saint-Tropez, which we can all dream, right? And you're, sipping a cocktail by the ocean, and it definitely is giving that. I would say that this is very fresh. It has a masculinity to it, but not too masculine. So kind of think in the realm of Fleur father figure. It doesn't smell like that, but in terms of how masculine it is. So I feel like it could be unisex, and it has this really just elevated freshness to it. It doesn't have any coconut. It doesn't smell like any kind of suntan. I get a like breezy citrus fresh scent overall with a little bit of a woodiness to it. So I think if you like fresh, summery, really clean scents, I think you would like this because it's kind of a mixed bag. It doesn't smell just like citrus. It doesn't smell like your typical like salty. It kind of has everything in there, but to me, it smells expensive. This would definitely be something that would be perfect like in your gym bag or if you were going on vacation for when you go to the beach. But if you're like a gourmand, you want like a suntan coconut beachy scent, this is definitely not that. Okay, so it's been a couple minutes. Let's see if we can get more oomph with this. It's still quite light. The biggest complaint I have really is the smell. It just smells, ooh, like funky feet or something. And I smelled that with the Sephora collection as well. So I'm just building it up. It's not a even application. That doesn't bother me because again, I would apply something like this, just kind of soften the edges and it just gives me a little bit of definition. And to hydrate the lips, I have a new Like a Gloss lip tint from Wise Beauty. I love this formula. I've raved about them so much. It's like a light pink shade. Now this is called Model Behavior. So I really like these because I love the tip, but I like how glossy they are and how pigmented they are. This one seems a little more sheer, which I would have liked a little bit more oomph. I still think it's pretty, but I like the other colors like the berry and the red because they have this beautiful even pigment. I can just swipe them on and they just bring my face to life. Now in terms of eyeshadow, I have quite a bit to choose from. Morphe just sent this package with a ton of new palettes. So I wanna go over these, swatch them, and then play around. But before I get into that, I did wanna thank Midi Health for sponsoring this video. I have talked about them at length and I will continue to because they truly have changed the game for me. My anxiety was so out of control. My sleep was awful. And because I do have cervical dystonia, if I'm anxious, I can't sleep and I tense up. It's like all in one. Everything's connected. Starting my journey with Midi was one of the best decisions I have ever made in regards to my health. So if you're not familiar, Midi is a virtual care clinic founded by women, created for women. It is covered by insurance in all 50 states where available. So if you have brain fog, you have insomnia, anxiety, and your labs are normal, I just had labs done and my labs are normal, but my anxiety doesn't show up, unfortunately, on my labs. Neither does my insomnia. That's where Midi comes in. So they offer something called the Age Well service that connects you with a clinician that specializes in women's health to go beyond basic labs. They do quarterly checks on hormones, thyroid, cholesterol, blood sugar, and inflammation. So they have actual data to make a custom plan with targeted supplements specifically for you. They also do retesting and follow-ups to see what's working and what they need to tweak based on facts and not just guesswork. Plus, it's super convenient to book a visit. You can often get in within a couple days, which I like because I am an impulsive girl. I am a last-minute girl. I'm not the most organized. So I love that I can get in to see my clinician if something is on my mind or something is bothering me, and I can get in efficiently. I also love my clinician. She is just honestly a doll, a true gem. She listens to me. She never questions any symptoms I'm having, and she is open to making changes where she sees fit. So you can book your Age Well visit with the link in the top of my description box. I will also pin the link for you because I just find Midi to be so incredibly helpful. Truly could not recommend them more. So those links will be down below for your convenience, but let's go ahead and get into trying more new makeup. Jumping back into the Morphe palettes. So they sent this in PR. We have 3 of these 6-pan matte eyeshadow palettes. So let's start off with Mauve Mode. Okay, we're starting off strong here. By the way, I feel like I have a little bug bite. I don't know. I woke up with it a couple days ago, so just ignore. But these are 6 pans, which I loved their original 6 pans. And these ones have all matte shades. So I'm just gonna go ahead and put swatches over the screen while we go through each one. And then the next one is Underslated. This one is stunning. This looks like the perfect everyday palette. Really, really excited to play with that. And then we also have Tailored Nudes. There goes the paper, but this one is definitely the warmer of the 3. I think a lot of people are gonna gravitate towards this. And along with those matte palettes, they did expand this launch of the trios. So they have 5 new colorways. These have a mixture of textures. So this is the first one called Dream Sequins. So in here you have a matte, kind of like a foiled topper, and then you have a metallic. So this is the first trio. And then we have Jewel Intentions. This one caught my eye, so pretty. Now in this one, it actually has 2 mattes and 1 topper. So they're not all exactly the same, but we'll go through each one. And then we also have Out to the Lace, Cut to the Lace, Cut to the Lace. This one is really pretty too. It looks kind of similar to that one, but again, this one has 2 mattes and then 1 topper. And then we have Tool Order. This one has 2 mattes and 1 topper. So it kind of looks like that first one was the outlier. And then Jean Spirited. This looks really pretty too. 2 mattes, 1 topper. So that first, actually, let me go back. That first one, yeah, this is the only one of the new shades that has a shimmer in here. So it just kind of depends on your preference. But if you want to travel, this would be super convenient. If you were like, you know what, I'm just going to use these 2 shades, this in the crease, this in the outer corner, this on the lid, and be good to go. Or if you're a matte girly like me, I kind of am drawn towards this. I might take this with me when I go on vacation. I go on vacation very shortly and it's much needed. I'm very excited to just unwind, but this would be something that I would reach for. So today I'm trying to decide what I want to do. I kind of want to play with both. So I think I'm going to play with the mattes in one of the matte formulas, and then we can kind of jump in to one of these like shimmery shades and just sort of play around. So I'm going to zoom you in a a little bit more. And I'm gonna go in with the Underslated palette. I just think this is like screaming neutral, basic girl, which is me. I'm gonna go ahead and start off with this shade right here. I'm just gonna use this in the crease. I really loved the original Morphe 6 pans, so I anticipate really liking these. And I think it is a good expansion for them, especially for people that don't want something shimmery every day. It's like a personal preference. Plus, I feel like we're seeing a ton of eyeshadow toppers. So maybe that's their thought process of consumers like me that really like eyeshadow toppers or eyeshadow, you know, sticks, that we would just buy this palette and then use something like the Danessa Myricks or the Bobbi Brown, something like that. So I'm actually just gonna dust this like all over the lid and then into the crease. And with a smaller brush, I'm gonna dip into this deeper chocolate brown. That's very, very pigmented. So I'm just gonna try to keep this on the outer edge here. Just to add a little bit of depth. And then I am gonna go into the black color with a really small, this is an N21 from BK and Nikki LaRose. And then I can just clean up. And for the lid, I'm trying to decide if I want to use this middle shade from Jewel Intentions. It's a really pretty iridescent tone. Or if I want to go in, this might be too dark. This is the, yeah, that's a little bit too dark for what I'm wanting. I might try this one. The first shade. It just gives this shift. It's pretty when it mixes in with the deeper tones. I feel like my eyeshadow game has been not great lately. I've just been focusing more on my eye health because my eyes were so irritated there for a while. So I've been implementing different products and really trying to not aggravate my eyes. I'm gonna go back into the palette and I'm gonna tap into this dark shade and the first shade and try to get more of a seamless blend here. So obviously doing this, I lose some of the intensity. So I'm gonna go back in. There is a little fallout with these. It's not crazy, but definitely a little bit. So once I have that set, very lightly, just dusting around the edges. And then I'm gonna go back into that brown shade again. I'm not liking how this is looking out here. I feel like I need more oomph. So I feel like I need a crisp black liner. This is just not looking the way I want it to. So I'm gonna use my Judy doll in black. I'm gonna do it off camera, so hopefully I don't mess it up, and then we'll be back. So I went ahead and did my wings, and then I did add a couple corner lashes. I got this at Target the other day. It was like 10 bucks, and I'm really liking them so far. So I wanna move on to Complexion. I don't have a new foundation or like moisturizer, so I'm just gonna go in with this Thayer's Hydrating Milky Toner. This one's really hydrating. The one thing about it though is it gets this like foamy appearance where it gathers, so you really gotta like blend it in, and it takes a little bit longer to finesse. I don't know if I'm doing something wrong here, but my Bioma doesn't do this, but this is definitely like heavier, more hydrating. I just feel like I have to like really keep blending it in. And for foundation, I don't have a new one other than like really thin tints, and I want to keep it cohesive. So I'm going to use my Makeup Forever. I'm loving this. This is 222N. I don't have any self tan on right now, but I am headed to the beach and I am so ready. So I'm going to mix in a pump of my LA Girl mixer, and that is going to work for me as of right now because I'm waiting to do my self tan so that everything's like fresh and exfoliated, you know, the whole nine. And I don't know if I'm alone in this, but I get nervous before any traveling. It doesn't matter where, I'm just nervous trying to pack everything. I'm in sort of like the frantic stage. So if I seem a little bit off, I have just a lot of stuff that I have to do, and I have doctor's appointments mixed in. I don't know why I get like this, but I just get nervous. Like I'm gonna forget something important, like my medication or my contacts or something like that. And I just get myself worked up. I'm excited, but I have like that anticipatory anxiety. But on another note, if you've not tried this foundation, I totally recommend that you do. I have been wearing it non-stop since I tried it. Obviously the shade is a little deep for me, but this is just such a middle ground foundation. I feel like it's gonna work for a ton of skin types. It has a really nice amount of coverage. It wears well. It's not overly dewy or greasy, but it's also not like flat. So I just feel like a lot of people are really going to enjoy this foundation, and I am definitely one of them. Moving on to bronzer, I actually have a brand new formula from Tarte. I have a couple products from Tarte in today's video. They sent me a package. This is the Macaron Sculpt and Bronze Duo in Brown Sugar. So you have a cream bronzer here, and then a little divider, and then a baked powder. So let's swatch this. This powder looks like it has like a little bit of a glow to it. It feels really soft. And then let's see about this cream. I have not used new Tarte products in quite a while. Okay, that looks really, really dewy. I'm hoping that it's not gonna be like sticky. I mean, that looks very, very, very emollient. Sometimes those don't play the best with powder. So I'm gonna go ahead and use my Mario F4. I love this brush. It is definitely going with me on vacation. And let's start. Okay, this is very balmy. I could see dry skin, people loving this. I'm hoping that this isn't gonna get too heavy because it feels quite emollient. And you can see even like, look at, it's way more dewy than the foundation finish. This shade is very like natural on me, but it does give me some warmth. I find that this color actually is warm, but it's not orange. And we've been seeing a lot of orange bronzers lately, and it blends really easily, but it is just really glowy. So this is what the Tarte looks like. I mean, it is pretty. It's just very, very hydrating. So we'll see how it goes with the other products, but I do have these new Kosas blushes. So these were sent to me and I pulled 2 shades out. So I have the color Vibration. I don't know about these shades with my makeup right now. They feel pretty balmy, but very, very pigmented. And let's see what this is. This next one is Intuition. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go in with that one. Oh, I don't know, my bronzer's a little warm. We'll see. We're gonna start with this Intuition shade, but these are a balm-like texture, so, you know, like the rounded balm type. I like to actually use my brush and go off the product. They do seem quite pigmented, so I'm using the Intuition. Okay, not quite as intense if you work off the component. These also look quite hydrating. Again, not sure that's gonna be my favorite. That shade is pretty. It's different for me. It's kind of weird, like mixing in with the bronzer. I'm just going around the edges to make sure that we're not too low. So this is the Intuition shade. I'm gonna add a little bit more. More is more. God, that's really, really, really glowy. Like, I feel like it's pretty, but it's not practical. It's pretty when I turn my face, you know, but it's like, I just know that my hair is gonna be like stuck to it, but we're gonna just keep trying and see what happens. But I wanna go in next with the Charlotte Tilbury concealer. I absolutely love this, But I am gonna mix in and try a little bit of this Patrick Ta. This is the Shy at First Liquid Transitioner Brightening Blush. Okay, so this came out and it was very controversial, and then more and more and more started happening. So my take on it is that, from my understanding, he is expanding on his blushes that are probably his top seller. I used to be insane over his blushes. I do feel like recently the cream side is like more sheer and a little bit stickier, so they haven't been my favorite as of late. But he's expanded into this like really blurred under eye blush look that has been around for years, like Kevin Aquan, things like that. But Painted by Esther is known for that. Like if you're on TikTok, especially Instagram, and I've seen her work, so beautiful, especially with like deeper skin tones where it just looks perfectly blended, like from the under eye to the cheek. And there were some weird things happening with Patrick Ta's team and Painted by Esther behind the scenes, but it's turned into a lot. And I like to just review makeup and also give credit where it's due. So my opinion is that I want to try these and see how they work. I actually bought them for my lips too, because this would be like a perfect shade for my lips, and I use the Armani on my lips, and I would use these more as like how I use my Dior blush. So the Dior Original Pink blush, I know that even had, you know, controversy back in the day where people were like, where's the pigment? Because when you swatch it, there's like nothing, and that's the vibe that this is giving me. So that's kind of my intended use. But if you want to use what you already have, absolutely, like you could use pink correctors, pink concealers, pink powders, lighter color blushes, deeper blushes. And if you want to learn technique, Painted by Esther is incredible. Like I don't have that technique. When I look at like all the steps that she does, I'm like, whoa, like my brain can't compute, but she is like a professional makeup artist. So I will link her stuff down below if you want to see more of her work and watch her techniques and learn from her. So let's go ahead and start with, I'm trying to decide. I think you're supposed to put concealer on first. So let's actually go in with the Charlotte Tilbury concealer. Like so. On a side note, my hair is driving me nuts. I used an overnight curler, like the overnight curls, and it works, but my hair is like so frizzy because I didn't like blow it out first. It's just, you know, fun times. But I want to go ahead and swatch these. So these are the like liquid transition things. To me, this is like the perfect lip color for me. And I know people are like, that's insane, but that's what I love. And then I also, okay, wait, that was Shy at First. And then I also got Between Us. This one seems like it's gonna be more intense. Again, though, I would use this like on my lips. I know people probably think it's insane, but these are the type of colors I love. So I almost want to, let me just start with blending out this concealer. And I think I'm actually going to work off of the tip of this just to see what kind of like color payoff there is. So I don't even really know exactly how to do this because it's just not a technique that I am, you know, a pro at. The one thing I am wondering though is because this feels like it dries down, and I think it is more of like a stain type of product. I do wonder how the Kosas is going to mesh. Like if you're gonna need to use blushes that are a little bit more matte, I don't know though. It feels like it did okay. So this is what it looks like blended under the eye. I am curious how it's going to look with the powder on. And I have like a pink powder I could use from L'Oreal, the Blur powder that I love. I have it in pink, but I usually just like the original shade. So I'm just pulling this down. The one thing I will say is I don't know if this is gonna show up enough on like deeper complexions. I almost feel like you would need to go with like the darker shade. There's like a brighter shade in this line. Or again, like I've seen Nikki LaRose, I think she did a video and she used a blush with, I think like a concealer. Was that what she used? She basically just like cut blushes. So just had different levels of pigment, which basically is kind of what this is. So it's just really personal preference, but I still wanted to see how the product worked. I'm actually going to grab a little bit more of the Kosas just so we don't lose all of that. I know the tones don't match perfectly, but for me, the whole fun in makeup is doing what I want. Like I mix products all the time. I like to mix colors and you know, I don't need to follow a regimen. Like I want to do what I feel like doing. And that's totally okay. So if you were to look at these two shades and be like, well, those aren't supposed to go together. I don't care because I do what feels fun and what makes me happy. And sometimes you mix things and it doesn't go great. And sometimes you do and it's beautiful. That's the whole fun in makeup. These are supposed to stain. And I would say definitely, you know, it kind of, again, makes me wonder about like using this on the lips, because I am a stain type of gal. So I don't know, we'll have to see, but I'm gonna grab my L'Oreal, my pink powder, and I wanna see how everything comes together with powder. All right, so I've got my L'Oreal powder in the light pink, and I'm going to just set everything. I'm hoping no patching happens, even though we have some really glowy products. So I'm just making sure to really set that down. I'm only gonna use the pink like on my under eye blush area, and then I'll go in with the regular color for the rest of my skin. Quite shocked that there is no lifting, I don't see. I'm surprised that there's no patching or lifting. So I'm gonna flip my puff around and just use my regular powder for the rest of my face. I have to know if any of you are watching Love Island. I have been really busy, so I didn't start it until yesterday, but I started USA. I think I'm like 3 episodes in. So I'm hoping it's gonna be good. It's like my guilty pleasure. It's just something, you know, I call it trash TV. A bunch of hot people fighting over each other. I mean, come on, who doesn't enjoy that? So face is set. I feel like there's a lot of blush going on, but again, we're just playing around. So I'm gonna go into the powder side of the bronzer. I wanna see if I can add some warmth. It's quite powdery, but it's like that baked formula. This seems to have a little bit of a radiance to it as well. I feel like I may have gotten a little too hard right there. That's the only thing, like, you know, how do you blend your bronzer into your blush? You know, I'm not a pro. So far though, I think this bronzer is nice. I'm really surprised that I'm not having patching with how glowy that was. I mean, I feel like I did go a little hard right here. So brows are done. I want to try this transition blurring blush duo. So this one is the one that matches what I used. I don't know if the shade that I used for the Kosas was like dark enough. So I don't know if this is gonna work because I feel like I need more oomph down here because this is quite, you know, intense up here. But again, we're just playing. So you have 2 different shades in here, a lighter tone and then a little bit of a deeper tone, but these are kind of like setting powders. They're very sheer. So they're not even gonna like swatch. Again, it reminds me of like the Dior, the original pink Dior, but I would use that like as a topper and kind of like over the center of my face. So I'm gonna go in with the lighter tone. I'm using a N14 from BK Beauty. I wanna just tap off and see if we see a difference. It's supposed to be like blurring. Okay, I definitely feel like I see a little bit of a blur from where the blush was to the concealer. I don't know if you can see, like right here, you see this line. I don't know if that's just from the Kosas being like overly emollient, but I'm just gonna go on this side and see what happens. I mean, I do feel like it helped that line a little bit. I still see it though, so I don't know, again, if it's just like the Kosas texture, but that's kind of how I would use this product. Just as like a topper when I feel like I just want a little bit more pink to my look, but I'm not using it as like a full pigment blush because that's not what it's good for. I don't know. Something is throwing me off. Like I feel like maybe I went a little too far in. That pink powder was like really pink, but overall, I mean, I feel like it works as it, you know, is intended to work. It's just something that I'm not used to doing on myself. So I just got to play around. So now I want to move on to lip liner. I'm going to try this ABH Cinnamon lip liner and see if I do like a kind of softer blurred application. And then I do want to try this transition blush in Shy at First, but I want to try it on my lips. I do this with the Armani and I love using them as lip products, but I'm going to use a flat brush, just work off my hand. I think they're supposed to be like a staining formula. They do dry down relatively quickly, so this is the kind of like tone that I would use just in the center. I think I pulled it out too far, but I want to see how it lays on the lips because that's immediately what I thought of. Like when I saw the colors, I was like, oh, you're coming home with me for lips. And just because I can't help myself, I did want to try a little bit of this color Between Us on the lips. And I'm talking like a smidge. So again, just working off of the product. I want to see if this will like tie into the blush. Yeah, that one's definitely more punchy. I am also going to take a little bit of my Tom Ford highlighter. This is the pink one. And just add a little bit. I don't know if you like highlight with this blush. So I'm just gonna put a little bit in the center. And I think leave the cheeks bare. And then I think the last product I have today is this Tarte Life Lock Hydrating Setting Spray. So you're supposed to shake it well, but let me look up the claims because it's Life Lock, which would mean that it's going to, you know, lock your makeup in, but it says that it's hydrating. Well, the claims say exactly what it says, basically 16-hour wear, refreshing and hydrating your skin. So I don't know, we'll see. I'm going to shake it. It says to shake well. My hair is already frizzy, so I'm already just like, I know this is gonna like send it into another dimension. Let's see what the mister is like. Okay. I don't smell anything, so here we go. It's a pretty intense mister, but I don't mind that. It's not like a huge shootout. It's more of like a direct mister, so you kind of got to like move your hand around. I mean, it definitely gave me some hydration. I want to see how it settles down. Okay, as it's drying down, I noticed that it made my shadow crease. That is not ideal. That's not something I usually deal with. And I can feel it. It's like sticky right there on this eye. So I don't know if I just got too much. So I want to let that settle down, and then I'm going to try to apply a little bit more. There might be a crease in there now, which is disappointing because the shadow was not creased that I could tell before. All right, guys, so here's my finished makeup look, trying out a lot of products that probably don't go together, but I wanted to test them out on camera and give you my initial first impression. So the e.l.f. lip stain, I prefer the NYX. I feel like this has a scent that is like nauseating. I mean, it truly is like stinky feet or something. I mean, it's affordable. I think there's a lot of different colors too. So if the shade doesn't bother you and it doesn't bother you that it doesn't apply perfectly even, then you may like it. Looking at my hand, it's basically non-existent. So I just don't know about this being a standout. I would prefer the NYX or the Huda. And then the Wise Like a Gloss lip tint. I love this formula, but I do prefer the berry or the red. They just have more pigment to them, but if you want something that doesn't have a taste, no scent, very glossy and quite hydrating, I think you would really like this formula. And of course, I'm loving the Makeup Forever. It's just really, really beautiful. My favorite new foundation in a long time. In terms of the Morphe eyeshadow palettes, I had no issues with either of them. I feel like the matte is something that I will use more often because again, I just love mattes and then I can use any like topper or eyeshadow stick on top. This leans a little cooler than it looked initially. So I would say this does have more cool tones if that's something you're looking for, but I found them to be really nice and easy to blend. I really like Morphe shadows. And then these trios, there's something about these that I'm not loving the middle shade formula. I think this is a really beautiful color, but this formula feels like it's really dry and it has a hard time adhering. So even when I build it up, I just feel like it's very easily dulled down, like very easily. So I don't know if it's something where a wet base would work better or if you use like a glitter glue or something like that. It's just a little bit dusty and I feel like once I blend around it, it moves and I have to go back in. I think it's pretty. I think if you want just like a soft little shimmer and two mattes, this would be great for travel, but with all of the beautiful like sparkly toppers out there, it's not wowing me or like standing out. I am, however, quite impressed with this Macaron Sculpt in Bronze. This is really beautiful. I felt like the bronzers were just effortless. There was no skipping or patching, and I would have judged this upon feeling it because it is quite dewy. So that's really my only note about it, is it blends beautifully. It's really easy to work with. It goes well with powder, but I would have judged it and thought that it wouldn't work with powder until I actually used it on the face. It is just very dewy. If you love dewy products, you will love this. If you like matte, like if you're wearing a really matte foundation, it might get a little bit tricky, but I am pleasantly surprised. And then the powder has a little bit of like a radiance to it, but nothing over the top. I mean, I think it blended really nicely. So I'm kind of excited to continue to use that. And then the Kosas, again, very dewy, balmy. It felt like a thinner formula, but you could just see the balminess of this product. I don't feel like it's as pigmented as I thought if you work off the product. So if you swipe it straight on, it looks, you know, much more intense. But if you use it like I just did off of your brush, you're gonna get this really nice, like juicy glow. But I'm happy to report that it does work with powder. I had no lifting, no patching. I am actually really surprised because I'm mixing a lot of different textures. So I think this is pretty. The tones in this blush seem more like natural tones, like the complete opposite of the Patrick Ta. So if you like more of like your flush cheeks but better, they have a ton of different tones. And then let's move on to the Patrick Ta. So for me personally, I would probably use this more on my lips. And I'm just gonna be real with you. In terms of using it on the under eyes, I feel like it did what it's marketed to do. I think that this would be very similar to the Armani blush that I have in the sense that it's almost like a corrector. So you could use any, you know, peachy color corrector or pink color corrector. This one definitely packs more punch. The formula to me is very thin and it dries fast. So you have to move quickly, but I am quite pleasantly surprised that everything just blended together, even mixing with more like balmy textures. So it's not a necessary product, but I will use it for different purposes and I'm happy to have it in my collection. And as I said before, I feel like these remind me so much of the Dior original blushes that again are going to be very sheer. They're not going to swatch like anything, but I do find this to be blurring, and it does add a nice like diffused layer in between your concealer and blush. So I'm gonna use this as like a blush topper more so. It does remind me very much of the Dior, which I personally loved, but I know a lot of people didn't like it. So I think, you know, makeup is just all about preference. And then the Tarte spray. I felt like this gave a nice hydration. I don't feel like I look too glowy or greasy. I do feel like my foundation looks a little bit darker after using this. I was looking at my clips and I was like, whoa, felt like it made my foundation oxidize a little bit, which I've never experienced, and that could just be in my head. The thing I don't like about this is the fact that it made my shadow crease. That's not really something I deal with. Sometimes it can make like your mascara way down, which I think I'm seeing a little bit of that as well. But if it's gonna mess up my eyeshadow, it would be something that either has to like blow me away in all other regards, and then I would, you know, take the time to cover my eyes, or it's just not something I'm gonna love. So I have to continue to test that out. But those are my first impressions. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know if you've tried any of these, if you wanna try them, and what your experience has been. So of course I will link everything that I used today down below in my description box. Also, don't forget to book your Age Well visit with Midi. I highly recommend it. I just cannot rave about them enough. So that will be at the top of my description box and a pinned comment. And if you did enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, I hope you stick around and subscribe. As always, thank you guys again so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.